of spiritual formation. Spiritual formation is a huge element of recapturing the health and vitality of the local congregation and how we do Christianity. In the Protestant Reformation, 500 years ago or so, these people were raised up by God to correct some errors in the church. And what they developed, the leaders of the Protestant Reformation, did a great work of God for the church. A lot of us wouldn't even be around here today, and Christianity wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for the Reformation. The Protestant Reformation, a few hundred years ago, there was a lot of effort to develop what we would call a systematic hierarchy of systematic theology. In other words, a great way of teaching the doctrines or the teachings of Scripture. The cognitive recapturing of the nuggets of what it means to be a Christian. And that was really important. And that has had a lot of influence on people around the world through the Protestant Reformation. It has also had a lot of influence on the Roman Catholic Church. And there are many Roman Catholics today that are much closer to Protestantism than ever before. It's really exciting to see how even the Catholic Church is coming alive in many areas of reform. It took a few hundred years, but it's coming around. And so it's really exciting, and it's very important that happened. However, one of the things that the Reformers did not capture from the prehistory of 500 years ago, which was primarily the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church, was one of the areas of the Roman Catholicism that is still very prevalent today, and that is spiritual formation. You probably know that there are things like convents in the Roman Catholic Church. There are communities, spiritual communities. There are a number of rituals in the good sense of the word, not the bad sense, but in the good sense, activities that help people grow and contemplate on Scripture and grow in spiritual formation. The Protestant Reformation reformed the nuggets of the teaching of the Scripture, but for some reason that nobody that I know knows about, they did not carry out much or follow through much on the spiritual formation practices of the Jesuits and other orders, they call them orders still today, of people who wanted to grow in spiritual formation, the whole concept of retreating and living in community, either for your life or for a short period of time. Some of you maybe heard of the Cursillo movement, which comes out of Roman Catholicism and has been now borrowed by many Protestant churches and called things like the Walk to Emmaus or other things. These spiritual formation efforts, but still aren't a major part of Christianity in the Protestant world. One of the exceptions in the Protestant Reformation was John Wesley. John Wesley, who started the Methodism movement, well, actually it was named that later after he died, but the Methodist Church and the Wesleyan Church branches of Protestantism are part of that movement, and John Wesley recaptured the spiritual formation and built that into the movement that he started in England. That was a Reformation movement of the Anglican Protestant Church in England many years ago. And it became very popular. God really blessed it. The church had what was called an awakening, a wake-up call, if we call it that today. And then John Wesley was invited here to the United States in the 1700s. And there was the only time in history of the United States when it is now called in history the Great Awakening.